Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Make Life Less Taxing podcast, the show where we uncover what really creates freedom in life and business, and we'll explore stories of those who've learned how to build wealth with purpose.
Welcome back to the Make Life Less Taxing podcast. Today, I'm joined by John Leech, a tax-focused financial advisor, business consultant, and insurance agent with a unique approach to wealth, particularly through the lens of infinite banking concept. John, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
Great, John. Can you share a little bit about who you are and what specifically that you do?
Well, I feel like the main part of my job is to give people clarity about their financial decision making, the tax impact that it has, and to show them ways based on all the things that they're involved in to enhance their financial position and their tax position, and more importantly, to try to help them be off the radar of the IRS for income tax purposes when they approach retirement one day. And it's been a rabbit hole these last 2 or 3 years because I spend my time learning tax planning when I've been a financial advisor for over 20 years. And then I've realized that I was giving the client the tax plan to take to their CPA, and they didn't always want to implement it, or maybe didn't understand everything. And so I actually was fortunate enough to find some people to join my practice that have more of the tax compliance background, where they're doing the tax returns and all the traditional accounting functions.
That's great. I mean, you mentioned clarity, and I think that's really important because when we're talking about, advising, insurance, tax planning, it can become fairly complex. So what really led you into this whole world of financial advising, insurance, and tax planning? What was kind of the start?
Oh gosh. I mean, from the very beginning, or you mean the tax component of it
Well, you can
itself?
go right to the beginning. How did you get into the business, or how did it all start?
Well, for me, it all started in high school when I had the high school economics class, and we played the stock market game.
Oh,
And I learned about the stock market and the things that influence equity prices, and just kind of really decided that's what I wanted to do with my career. And after a little time in the military, I ended up at a bank, and then went to an investment firm, and then went to an insurance company, and then got into financial planning. And then, in a nutshell, I noticed clients were leaving one CPA and going to another one because they wanted tax planning. And but nobody in my area was really offering that. And so I'm a very nerdy person, and I like to study and read and learn. And it's probably that ADHD thing that I have to deal with, like a lot of people. And so I started learning how income taxes work, and also a lot of the hidden taxes people don't know about, especially as they approach retirement. For example, would be Social Security tax, or having to pay higher Medicare premiums that they're not thinking of. And I've been very fortunate to have several mentors locally, and also people that are well-known names in the financial industry in the U.S. Who I've paid a lot of money, spent a lot of time learning from a lot of the best minds that I could find. And so I integrated that in my practice, and it's been well received by the people that hire me, and people that I've already been working for many years.
yeah. Well, listen, it sounds like it's a long story. I mean, it started really early in school years that you have gone and doing that. And one of the things I want to go and tell you is thank you for your service. Really
Oh, thank
appreciate
you.
that. But it sounds like an awesome.
I actually spent some time in Canada,
Oh,
uh, and Alberta for a few weeks.
oh, okay,
You
awesome.
ever heard of Cold Lake?
Cold day. Not quite. I'd have to be honest. It
It's
sounds
north of
Canadian.
Edmonton. Different province, different province.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah.
Now I know you do a lot of work with business owners. What's kind of what energizes you the most? Because I think with business owners, there's a lot of opportunities around taxes, but what is it specifically with them that kind of energizes you working with business owners?
Well, it's a lot more difficult to do thoughtful income tax planning year to year if somebody is strictly a W-2 wage earner. There are things you can do. It's not completely impossible, but when they own a business, or even if they have some self-employment income, in addition to any W-2 income, then that opens the door to a lot of things that people can do from an income tax planning perspective that they probably wouldn't be able to do otherwise.
Mm.
And so, if they own a small business, or if I have a professional like a physician or other professional who own their own business, then there are so many things that they can do from an income tax perspective within the tax code. I tell people there are basically two ways to reduce your taxes. You can avoid them or you can evade them. And tax evasion is how they got Al Capone back in the day, and we don't want to go that route. But tax avoidance is really more of understanding what the tax code will allow us to do given our given situation, and being aware of that, and then implementing those things properly that can be done and thoughtfully. And in order to do that, you have to have a global view of what the client is involved in. And some of the big things that are really fun right now, in particular, are people that have real estate investments. Bonus depreciation was made permanent under the recent tax law, and there's what's known as a short-term rental loophole for people that have Airbnb type property. And those are a couple of examples of things of asset classes where if people are involved in that, they can enjoy substantial tax savings that they may not know about otherwise. So,
Yeah, I think there was what, I can't remember his name right now. There was a judge that said that there was two income tax, there are two forms of income tax. There wasn't statements. There was the ones for the informed and the uninformed. I can't remember the quote. It's just popping out of my head. But I
no,
think this is
I know
kind of
what you
what you're talking
mean.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, there are two tax rates, I guess. Those
Yeah.
for the informed and the uninformed. I'm sure
Uninformed. Yeah.
that would be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And most people don't mind paying some level of taxes to enjoy the benefits of our society, but most of us want to keep more of what we earn, and would prefer to deploy those dollars the way we see fit versus the way the government sees fit.
yeah, no, I think that's the biggest thing when you're talking about taxes. And I think it even says in the code that it says you should not pay more than you're supposed to. Unfortunately, if you don't structure your affairs or your finances in the proper way, often you will pay more unknowingly. And I think this is kind of that idea behind it, right?
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And I also feel very strongly that we're likely to see a higher tax environment in the future just due to the levels of debt at the federal level, in particular. And but we have, we still have pretty historically low tax rates if you look at the history of the country. Um, and a lot of people get confused by the differences between a marginal tax rate and an effective tax rate. Even though they may be hitting a certain tax bracket, that's not their effective tax rate on all their income.
Well, nobody really sits down and calculates all of the taxes, and there are many different taxes, what the true tax rate is, right? Because they're
Right.
all hidden. Like you go and buy something, you don't count that as it, you know you're paying it, but you don't count it against your income, right? And once you really start figuring that out, it can amount to quite a lot.
That's right. Sales taxes, property taxes, use taxes. There's all kind of taxes we don't think about very often.
Often we only thinking about whatever you pay, at the end of the year for that year, how much tax you got to pay. We kind of think about that. Well, yeah, that's the income tax. That's all we pay. But no, there is a lot more that you start adding on to it, and often, yeah, it's a lot higher than somebody would kind of think about that.
Well, and an example of that, and that's you bring up a great point. An example of that is a self-employment tax.
Mm.
When you're in the U.S., I'm sure you may know, when you're an employee of some type of company or just whatever employer, they pay half of the payroll tax, and we pay the other half as the employee, which compromises Social Security and Medicare taxes. But when you're self-employed, you're the employer and the employee, and you have to pay both sides. And so there are some pretty well-known structuring strategies to mitigate some of that.
Yeah. And again, it's important to being informed about all of these things. So, you know what? I mean, we're talking about a lot about taxes. So if you had to sum up your mission, uh, like in one sentence, or it could be more than one sentence, what would that be for yourself?
My mission with my practice, it really is like that earlier comment, to give clients clarity on on my view of the things that they're doing very well in their planning, and the things that we could probably tweak a little bit to enhance what they're already doing, that can be calculated somewhat. It could be a current tax, but it could also be just being thoughtful about where they're putting their savings, and in projecting into the future what that could look like down the road, so um, they can mitigate some of or I would say hedge themselves against future taxes.
Mm.
And it makes the headlines when a large company pays no tax, for example, or some type of a wealthy individual. But we all know that doesn't happen by accident.
Yeah.
The main thing is most people are used to getting advice that's based on what they've done in the past. But the trick and where the opportunity is to give people some idea of what the future looks like. Obviously, nobody knows with certainty, but we can use current law to project into the future what that could look like, and to give them the data to make good decisions for themselves. And there's really no selling involved. If you give clients that clarity, then the path forward usually presents itself in light of all the things they're involved in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, no, I've never heard anybody that said that they were quite happy with the amount of tax that they're paying right now or that they're going to pay
Right.
in the future, right? So you showing them exactly what those potential, numbers are. It's often, like I said, there's no selling. There's like, well, you can do this or you have this other, the other option. So what
Yep.
are some of with the people that you work, what are some of the biggest kind of planning challenges that you see that they're kind of wrestling with, like when it really comes down to the options or the challenges that they have today?
The things that are very common is, I think that most people, based on what they hear in the news media, they're very tempted to take the the tax deduction now and to really load up in their qualified plans. And there's a seduction to that. And if they're in a particular higher tax bracket, it may make sense to do that. But also, one of the first things I'll look at with someone is, based on the path that you're on, for this to be a good decision to take a tax deduction now, for example, in their a pre-tax deferral in a 401(k) plan, for example. And so most of us want those tax deductions now. But one of the downsides of putting too much money in a qualified plan could be the lack of liquidity. Maybe they want to start a business one day. Maybe they have a personal emergency come up and they need access to those dollars. Or maybe they want to start a business, or maybe they want to invest in something that's not available in that particular 401(k) plan. So they need some level of liquidity. And so it's very tempting to take that deduction. Um, but there are some downsides with that, because at the end of the day, a 401(k) deferral is a deduction now, but more importantly, it's a deferral to an unknown tax rate in the future. And if you happen to be in a lower tax bracket when you're withdrawing those dollars, maybe that was a good decision, but for some reason you have too much success and then you're withdrawing that money in a higher bracket, or you just need the income, and it puts you in a higher effective tax rate, then maybe that was a little damaging. And I'm not in at all saying there's not a place for that. I'm just saying let's be thoughtful about where your savings go, and maybe there's some type of a balanced strategy that makes sense in light of that particular client's circumstances.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're mentioning is working with an informed decision, and I think there's a lot of
Mhm.
different analogies, kind of like, hey, do you want to pay, the tax on the seed, or do you want to pay it on the harvest, right? Like most people would say, hey, obviously the harvest, you're not planting something to have less of stuff. You want to have more and plentiful of it. So, looking at it, but most people don't understand the difference between those when it comes down to the numbers and what it actually looks like. And again, this is kind of where planning really comes in into play. So again, it's making that really informed decision, and that's what I'm hearing you saying, that's what you do with clients.
Yeah, and honestly, it really doesn't matter to me what they decide. Like they may decide A, B, C, or D, and obviously I'm compensated as an investment advisor, and I'm rep, and I'm compensated as an insurance agent. But 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 if they decide they want to invest their money in real estate, or if they want to invest it in some type of business, it really doesn't matter to me. The main thing is for them to have the clarity of the pros and cons of a given decision, or at least know what their options are, and have some insight into what that could look like 10, 20, or 30 years down the road. But once they have that level of clarity and enlightenment about what that could look like now and down the road, they tend to make a decision that would put them in the best position. And that's what I want for them. I genuinely do want that for them. And so that, to me, it's the most fun puzzle there is. Everybody has their own puzzle, and figuring out where all the pieces go to benefit them, it's the most fun game that I can think of.
Yeah, I like your language.
Besides Texas Hold'em.
Yeah.
I
I
enjoy
love how
Texas
you're
Hold'em too.
describing it, having fun, and that's really what it is. Like, you're really there just to go and help them to make the next best decision for themselves, right? Like
Yeah,
you're not
absolutely.
there to sell anything, right? So depending on what
Not
they
not at
have,
all.
yeah, depending on what they
Yeah.
have and where they want to go is going to depend on what they will decide. But what they will decide really depends on them, what they really want.
And usually that type of planning, I call it integrated planning. We're integrating their year-to-year tax planning with their long-term financial planning with a tax emphasis. But usually when you do that level of planning and having that level of a discussion, the path forward makes the most sense. But if they decide they want to do something else and they're aware of what that tax impact will have, that's fine. That's their money. They'll be the one paying the tax, not me. And so, but I've done my job if I give them that information, and
Yeah.
that's what they pay me for.
No, exactly. Now, you spend a lot of time in the military banking, now when it comes down to advanced planning, how has those experiences kind of really shaped your approach to client relationships?
Um, well, I think over the course of my career, whether it's in the Air Force or the different jobs I've had, it's just learning the importance of relationships. I mean, if it weren't for certain people along the way, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. And I'm very grateful for those people and those conversations, especially when you go out on your own. Because when you're a financial advisor, you're irrespective of what name is on the door, or if you're with a big firm that's well known, or if you're an independent like me, you're self-employed, and you have to. Nobody hands you clients. Nobody hands you. I mean, my first days in this business, the people that I worked for said, here's a phone book, have at it, start calling people." Like I didn't know anybody, and so those initial relationships, you would take a bullet for them if you had to, because you wouldn't be here without them. And so it really doesn't matter how much money they have, even now for me, a lot of people have minimum account balances or whatever it may be for them to work with somebody. I don't really have that. For me, if somebody wants help and we have great friendly chemistry where there's a relationship there, I'll work with anybody. If they're a billionaire or if we're putting $50 a month in an account, it doesn't really matter to me. And so to me, this is the ultimate relationship business. An advisor is part technician, whether it's tax or financial strategies, but we're part bartender. We're also a part therapist. And I pride myself on the fact that I know things about people that I'll be taking to my grave. And so, I look at this is the most fun journey there is where you lock arms with somebody and you go through life with them. And I've had experiences where we've celebrated the success of a business or a kid graduating college, and I've sat with people in a conference room and we've cried when somebody was diagnosed with a terminal illness
Mm,
and figuring out what to do with the death benefit. And
mm.
so it's the full range of the human experience that I am fortunate enough to experience with the people that hire me.
Yeah, no, you bring out great points. Now, when you think about legacy and what you're building, what do you want your work and your life to really stand for?
I think more than anything, I want to be known as someone who genuinely cared about the people that I worked with, and love love them. I love the people that hire me, and I care about them, and all the tax strategy, all that stuff matters. But it's not what we live for. We live for this journey of life. I want to be known as someone that people are glad that they had around when the good thing. I want to be that, aside from a spouse maybe, or a significant other. I want to be that next call when the good things happen or when it hits the fan, and bad things happen. I want to be that person that gets the phone call. We got to figure this out, whether it's a business challenge or a career challenge or a tax issue or a financial decision, whatever it may be. I want to be that person that gets that call and is trusted, and I want to be known as someone who valued that trust and was always trustworthy and genuinely had the people's that hired me their best interest in mind. And if I'm known as that, and if I'm known as someone that was there for people through the good times and the challenging times, then I'm good with that.
Yeah, no, so far that's what strikes me about you. Like when I always tell people the business is not a financial business. It's not about money. It's about relationships. And I think that's what you're mentioning. That's a relationship first because you will not get to the money unless you have a relationship with somebody and you have that trust. And one thing you mentioned before, it was quite fascinating for me when I was an advisor, how sometimes they were more freer to talk about what's happening behind closed door in the bedroom than talking about their finances. But that's a whole nother topic on
Hey,
on that.
the only thing I can think of that's more personal than your finances would be your health care with your doctor. And frankly, when you're on the insurance side, you have to know some of those
Um,
things as it relates to their health care, right?
Yeah.
When you do medical underwriting, we do field underwriting in the insurance business. So this is a very deeply personal business, and I know that people don't need me to index the S&P 500, for example. I do feel like that they need me to make decisions in a light of the integration of tax and financial strategies. And maybe technology will make that less and less necessary over the years. But uh, I do think that the personal element will always be necessary in this business.
No.
At least I hope it is.
I personally, I believe it is, and when it's not, well, you know what, we'll have to deal with it. So I always look at it this way, even with AI and everything that's happening. I personally believe that ultimately God's in control, and we as human beings are very adaptive. We have survived through a lot of different things when we go back in history. Whatever is going to come at us, I'm sure that we'll figure it out and we'll go and adapt, right?
We're
So
very we're very versatile species.
yeah.
That's for sure. And that's what it's all about is
Yeah.
to me the journey is more important than the destination.
Oh, well, listen, that is the only thing. And I think this is, and I appreciate you mentioning that. That's something important to me because in the past, I was thinking, no, 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 the prize is the destination. I've had to learn through life that no, 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 enjoy the journey. The journey is the prize. You know?
It absolutely is because whenever you hit a destination or a goal, then you're on to the next one.
Yeah.
Then
No,
you're on to the
well, it
next
never
goal.
comes.
It
It's kind of
never
like,
comes. It's a moving target.
yeah.
And so and probably that comes with age, being over 50 now. So just being a little more seasoned as a man, I think that you learn to appreciate the journey more.
Uh, But listen, I heard the new 50 is like the new 30, so we're doing okay.
We're doing okay. That's right. I
Listen,
think it
so
is. I don't,
yeah.
I feel great.
Listen, I look at age more from the perspective of, yeah, it's a number and you're looking at it, it might look a little bit depressing, but it's like it's how you feel, and
Yeah.
so from that perspective, it's more or less a mental thing that you have to go and look at it, right? It's not what it is on a piece of paper or when you count the the years, it's how you're feeling. So that's
Hey, your health, man. If you have your health,
yeah,
you are already wealthy.
yeah, oh, 100%.
And the rest is gravy.
Yeah,
And
no.
so,
No, I 100% agree with you on that. So, you know what? We were talking about infinite banking. So, if someone hears, about infinite banking or advanced planning for the first time, what's the kind of the internal shift that they often need to make to really get it? Because it's a concept that has been around for a while, but I think a lot of people don't really fully understand it or are not aware of it. So, is there a shift that you kind of see or a way that they have to think a little bit different?
yeah, I think so. I think whatever you want to call it, I think that the realization that life insurance is not an investment. I wouldn't describe it as an investment because I think by definition, investment has the potential for loss. But life insurance is very much an asset class. And um, the perception of life insurance is that it's a quote unquote a low return product, or let's say a conservative internal rate of return. And it may be a conservative internal rate of return, but the one of the biggest paradigm shifts I had myself with life insurance as an asset class is the realization that even if I'm over time, I'm projecting, let's say 4% internal rate of return on cash value over time, that if I put those dollars with a life insurance company inside a life insurance contract, and then I take policy loan and we build the policy or design it in such a way that it accumulates cash very quickly, which is the idea there. And then I take policy loans to do the things I was going to do with that cash normally. Um, even at a higher interest rate, maybe it's a 5% policy loan rate. But when you realize that if the capital starts in a life insurance contract and accumulates over time, let's say at 4%, and you pay a higher loan rate, that you will actually have more money over a given period of time, maybe 5 years or 10 years, assuming you amortize that loan and pay it back to the insurance company over time. And that realization that there is that opportunity cost of not doing that was one of the biggest paradigm shifts I had. And I've gotten to where I love to tell that story to people. When I got in this business, I thought all the action was as an investment advisor and asset allocation, but I actually think that where the excitement is in the life insurance side, and utilizing those contracts during life, not at there's a death benefit that will be there at death, but utilizing those assets during life to build businesses or invest in real estate or whatever it is you want to do, um, and enjoy leveraging the collateral capacity of that contract people don't know that story, and they hear things in the news to say that they should do different things with their money, and I think that's a mistake in a lot of cases. And so I actually forgot the question, but that but
No,
but
no, you're doing good. We were just talking about when
yeah.
it comes down to infinite banking and what is it, the shift that somebody needs to get, right? To get a deeper understanding
Yes.
of how
The
it
the
works.
the the fact that thank you for that. The fact that you can fund a contract and still do the things you'd have done with that money normally is people don't realize that. Some people call it the and asset, but your money can do double duty for you. And once you realize that your dollar can do one, two, or three or four things for you and still invest in whatever it is you want to invest in, and then there's leverage there. I think that's the biggest aha moment that I've had, and that's the biggest aha moment that a lot of my clients have.
Yeah.
And I tell them, hey, when you pay me a planning fee, I'm pulling out every tool that I have in my arsenal to give you the data to make decisions for yourself. If you want to utilize life insurance as an asset class, we'll do it. If you don't want to, you're not convinced of it, then we don't do it. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it's my job to make you aware of how this can work for you.
Yeah, I think you bring a great point. The dual purposing a dollar or quadruple, 10 times per, whatever you want to go and look at it. That's something the banks are doing all the time. That's something the government does all the time, and most people don't understand that is actually possible, right? And again, most of us, I don't know about you, but we kind of lived on more of the scarcity mindset kind of view where we were not taught a lot of these things as opposed to more into the abundance where you got wealthy
Mhm.
people. There is a bit of a different way of thinking, different rules that apply to each of those worlds. And the whole idea of what you just explained of kind of that dual purposing a dollar is really important to understand. And often it doesn't make sense. Like, what? You can actually go and do that? I'm sure you kind of get a lot of that, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. For advisors who are trained purely in the investment world, it's usually lost on them the things that can be done with life insurance or certain types of annuities as well. And for people that are strictly in the insurance world, maybe they're not aware of all the things that can be done in the investment world. And so you have different philosophies that spring up. For example, buy term, invest the difference. All right. You'll make more money and maybe you will. Or if if you if you're buying some type of cash value life insurance, and this is what it looks like. Ultimately, I believe from a planning mindset, there's a place for term insurance to make sure the death benefit is acceptable from a risk management and family security perspective. And then there's a place for cash value life insurance as uh, a tax advantaged vehicle that can be collateralized and leveraged and still take your risk outside of the contract and invest in assets that you're going to invest in anyway.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, no, you bring a great point. Now, we also talked about business owners, especially. How do you help them to be more, I would say, proactive as opposed to reactive when it comes to tax strategies and some of the things that they can do?
So how do you make them more proactive? Well, the first thing we'll do is we'll draw up a tax planning proposal where we look at historical tax returns and try to identify opportunities for immediate tax planning. And if they decide to come on as a client, and then year to year, what we're doing is as we implement those opportunities that make the most sense in their tax plan, then each year we'll do a forecast of what their projected tax liability looks like based on the year they've had in their business or their career or whatever it may be. And then if they know what that looks like, then we can present opportunities to try to mitigate some of that, whether it be depreciation strategies or some type of income shifting or retirement plan utilization or something else. And so the main thing is giving them a forecast of what that looks like before the end of the year when we don't have a lot of time to adjust.
Yeah. No, no. I think that's again, it's all about the planning and making sure that they have an understanding that they can go and make an informed decision. So, you know what, let me ask you this. When a client finally sees how their money could work for them and even dual purposing, can you share some kind of interesting reactions or words that people have said when you have actually when they have kind of finally noticed it or they finally got it?
Oh my goodness. Um, so you're asking to give a couple of examples of people once they had that aha moment,
Uh-huh.
what their reaction was?
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, well, I think one of the funniest examples of that, and this was early on, is there's a real estate depreciation strategy called cost segregation. And I was referred to this guy in near my area, who I will remain nameless, although I have his permission to tell this story, so I'm not violating anybody's privacy. But I was introduced to a guy who was really successful entrepreneur, very, very successful, and who's also a CPA, by the way, and who used to be a financial advisor years ago, and then got out of that business into something else. And so he actually owns restaurants and bars, and several very successful restaurants and bars in the area. And so I was introduced to him, and I said, "Sir, my name is John Leech. I would love to sit down with you. Um, I'm a financial guy, and I'd love to just get to know you a little bit to see if there's anything I could do that would be of value to you." And we were in his bar in front of like 30 or 40 people that were sitting there at the bar watching me try to pitch this guy. Um, and they know he's really tough and has really strong personality. And so he goes, "I'm a CPA. I used to be a financial advisor. I'm I'm independently wealthy. What are you going to tell me that I don't already know?" And I said, "Well, I heard you spent $1 million renovating your bar. Is that true?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Have you heard of cost segregation?" He said, "What is that?" And I said, "I got you." And I did. And I got him right at $1 million tax refund right before COVID hit
Uh,
in
uh,
2020. And so, he was really excited about that.
no,
Um,
that's a great
that
story.
people,
We're back to informed and uninformed. He thought he was informed, and then he finds out he was uninformed.
yes, yeah, exactly. So there's always something that early experience is one of the things that kind of got me more tax focused in my planning and in my education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always I've never met anybody that's like, hey, I'm completely happy and comfortable with the amount of tax that I'm paying, and actually I want to pay more. I don't think, nobody ever said that, right? So
It's very rare. If they did, I don't want to have their head examined.
yeah. Exactly. Well, listen, as we're closing this chat, really enjoy that. I've got these four, I call them rapid fire question. What's a favorite book that really shaped your thinking that you would advise somebody to read?
A favorite, just any kind of a book
And
or
any kind of
just,
book. What It doesn't have to be
um,
business. It doesn't have to be.
oh goodness. Um, let's see. I would say Garrett Gunderson's The Rockefeller Method. It's
That's a
really
great
good.
book.
Yeah, you've read that one?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I
he's plugged in. He's really, um, and he also has Killing Sacred Cows. He's
sure.
written a
Yeah,
couple of good books, several good books.
yeah. There was
Um,
another book about finances. I can't remember the money. I know Money was the name of it before that he was written before there. Yeah, no, he's got really great books that he has. So no, that one, Rockefeller's Method is a great read.
yeah,
What's a morning routine or habit that you can't live without?
coffee.
Yeah, it's one of the ones we get quite often. So that's
Yeah.
good. Is
I'm not
there
much of a morning person at all.
Yeah.
I wish I were. I wish I was one of those people that could get up at 4:30 and ready to go, but I'm not that person.
Yeah. No, that's all right.
Never have been.
Yeah. Is there a bucket list item that you haven't checked off yet?
Look, I've lived a very, to me, in a very exciting life. I've gotten to do a lot of interesting things. Bucket list. Um, Man, that is a good question. I've traveled to places I wanted to travel. I've flown in a fighter jet. I've done some fun things. Um, let's see. Golly, that you stumped me. What is a bucket list thing I have not done? I have not been skydiving.
Hmm.
That's one thing I have not done, but I don't know at 50, 51 if I want to do that one at this point. I think that's a young man's game. I
Yeah,
don't
it
know.
sounds like jumping out of a completely good airplane. Yeah, that doesn't sound too
Yeah,
exciting. Yeah.
yeah, I haven't
Well,
done
listen,
that.
so it's one of those
Or
things that I
base
always thought I'd
jumping.
like
Haven't
to.
done that either. I'm
Sorry?
sorry. I have not done base jumping either.
Base jumping, yeah. No,
Yeah.
listen, it's one of those things. Yeah, I kind of got the same feeling. I'd love to go and do it because I've heard a lot of people they're like scared just as they're on the edge, but they're like jump and they're like falling down, get down and go like, let's do it again. So,
Yeah, yeah,
so that
yeah.
sounds
There's a guy in somewhere in Utah where he's doing base jumping with people, and I'm like tandem base jumping. And
random.
I'm like,
Wow.
but I really want to do that at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Now, what's a hobby or a interest that recharges you?
Absolutely playing cards, playing poker. I love the challenge of poker because there's the math part with understanding probabilities, but then there's the human element, especially in a no limit variation like no limit hold'em or pot limit Omaha. But I love playing cards. I wish I could golf, and I just suck completely and not even functional at golf. But I wish I could play golf. But I love to play cards.
Yeah. Okay. There's the reference of the Texas Hold'em earlier. And now I
That's
understand
right.
it.
That's right.
Awesome.
You're 100% correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got this one last question. I call it the hot one. Just imagine, let's fast forward to the end of your life. Imagine that everyone that you have ever talked to forgot everything that you ever taught them or you showed them. But they
Mhm.
do have an opportunity to kind of learn this one last message from you. What would you want that message to be that they could remember?
Don't mind the little things.
Mm.
And what the saying that I'm known for is it'll either work out or it won't. What,
Yeah. No.
whatever it is, like things will work out or they won't. And it's going to be what it's going to be. So don't worry too much.
Yeah, no, listen, I've got a saying that's basically the same thing, just a little bit different, where I tell people, "Hey, listen, life is either working for you or it's working on you until it can work for you, right?
Hmm.
It's always working for you. We just don't necessarily see it that way. And I think same like with you, it's all it is just a mind perspective, right? Like you have a choice every day to be happy or to be upset. It's a choice, right? So,
It is. And I'm a very happy person. I'm an optimistic person.
yeah.
And and as nerdy as it may sound, I believe in mean reversion. I believe when you go through a really, really, really good part of life, you're going to get some challenges at some point. And I believe that if you go through a challenging part of life, you're going to get back to some good things at some point. It
Yeah.
all reverts to the mean over
Yeah.
time, I
Yeah.
think.
Well, I think that's great. I mean, I personally believe that, listen, if we did not go through tough times, we would be rather pathetic human beings. Because how would you
Yeah.
know what's a good time if you never had bad time, right? Like it just all be the same. And we could be
Mhm.
having the greatest time of our life, but if we never experience any adversity, we would not know that that is the greatest part of life, right? So that's a very
Yeah.
good point.
If I had the ability to get rid of any pain that I have, I wouldn't get rid of it because it makes you who you are. And so I need my pain, and I also need the good memories
Right.
to be who we are.
Yeah,
So
100%. Wow, listen, what a powerful and perspective shifting conversation. John, thank you for sharing your journey. Where can people find out more about you and the work that you do?
Well, my website needs a little updating. We're working on that, but it's sgcfinancial.net, and I'm on LinkedIn. And my email address is jleech, JLEECH, at sgcompanies.net.
Perfect. So if you're listening, be sure to check out John's website and get to know him. I'm sure he created a lot of helpful things and meaningful things that can help you in having that meaningful retirement. John, thank you again for your time and your message. And remember, life less taxing isn't just about money. It's about freedom, clarity, and purpose. Keep building wealth, keep protecting your legacy, and keep living the untaxable lifestyle. We'll see you next time on the Make Life Less Taxing podcast. John, thank you again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Make Life Less Taxing podcast. Be sure to check out our other top advisor interviews at makelifelsesstaxingpodcast.com.